I'm going to play every Story Seasons game from the series' conception to the modern day. Along the way, I will rate them against each other to determine which ones I like the most.
Before jumping into this game, I want to start off with a bit of backstory. The majority of retro games I played have been through emulation, but as a kid, I didn't have access to all the fancy online emulators of today, nor did I have my own computer. What I did have was a Wii, a family computer, and lots of time. Eventually, I learned of a nifty tool called Banner Bomb, an exploit that allows you to run homebrew software. This allowed even a dumb kid like me to open their Wii up to a world of emulation. Here's where I experienced many retro games for the first time, not only influencing my interest in games today, but also cementing a deeper interest in technology as a whole. What does this have to do with Harvest Moon? Well, one of the first games I played on this hacked Wii was actually Harvest Moon on the SNES. This game would become the springboard to what would become a childhood obsession with Harvest Moon. I would proceed to play every Harvest Moon game I could on the Wii until eventually getting a computer of my own. Obviously, one of the first things I did on this new computer was download emulators. One of the first games I played on these emulators happened to be Harvest Moon Save the Homeland. What's strange is my entire childhood I had a PS2, but I never saw or even heard of this game. I remember being amazed with how the game looked. This was the first Harvest Moon game I played that looked next gen. Sure, I played Harvest Moon 64, but I mean, look at these egg hands. This was finally the 3D Harvest Moon experience I was waiting for. Besides the normal farming and raising animals, I was of course interested in winning my chosen sweetheart over, Lila. As had been taught in previous games, I would visit her every day and hand her the best gifts I could find, but little did I know that she wasn't interested in me one bit. Despite clear in-game signs that my affection with her was increasing, I was shocked to witness her declare her love for Parsley and then run away after him. This is when I learned that Harvest Moon Save the Homeland is not the game I thought it was. If you've been following the series up until now, you may have noticed some patterns in the opening stories. Basically, if something isn't done quickly, the entire town will be bulldozed and turned into a theme park. What is it with theme park developers in the Harvest Moon world? Anyways, despite overhearing this from literal real-life elves, our character doesn't seem fazed at all. They then beg us to save the homeland. But you know, I'm kind of busy right now, so maybe later.
That's great. I didn't think that would actually work.
Okay, fine, I guess I can save the homeland from Geo's roller coasters. After agreeing, the actual harvest goddess appears before us. This deity then logically asks us to take a BuzzFeed quiz to see if we're an asshole. This doesn't really matter at all, though. If you answer the right way, she says you're probably lying. If you answer the wrong way, she says you're just being humble. And if you answer normally, she calls you boring. She then apparently places a spell on me and tasks me with changing the fate of this entire village. And then she just leaves. Wow, very helpful. Finally, I can start the game. Here on our farm, we have a rather lackluster section for farming, a grass section for grazing, a chicken coop, a barn, and I guess that's it. Instead of having an open area to farm, we instead have these preset areas that are only used for planting, while the field next to it is where grass grows for grazing. Not having to worry about planting a bunch of grass is nice, but the compliments end there. Compared to the other games, this farming area is pathetically small, and you can choose to fill these plots with a whopping 4 different crops to choose from. These crops are corn, tomatoes, potatoes, and breadfruit. First of all, what the hell is breadfruit? And why are these the only crops available? We've had games with pretty basic crop selection before, but this game doesn't even bother having different seasonal crops. It's just the same crops throughout the entirety of the growing season. This means the farming of this game gets very boring very quickly. Okay, farming sucks, but surely they put more effort into the animals, right? I mean, I always like the animals in these games, so surely this will make up for it. These are the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. It's even worse when you watch them slowly hover towards you like mindless drones. Petting these cows doesn't feel like I'm bonding with a farm animal. It feels like I'm pressing a button on a controller and watching a heart appear. Letting them out to graze is also annoying since you have to herd each cow individually, which can take literal in-game hours to complete. You can eventually train your dog to herd them in for you, but that doesn't change the fact that for a large chunk of the game, you'll just be doing this. Speaking of your dog, it's adorable. I like how you could adopt a dog yourself by feeding strays and then randomly kidnapping one to keep as a pet. It's dumb, but I like how this makes it feel like you're finding a friend instead of just adopting one. The chickens aren't horrifying, but I wouldn't say they're particularly good looking. They can graze like the cows by being left outside, but unlike the cows, they can only be let out individually throughout the entirety of the game. Then we have the horse, which you do horse things with, like riding it, brushing it, and racing with it. This is where I would go on about the rest of the animals, if there were any. Just like farming, raising animals in this game is sleep-inducing. Surely there are other interesting game mechanics though, right? Absolutely not. Fishing in this game is technically different than what we've seen, but it's more annoying than interesting. The minigame takes way too long, and most of the time I either got a boot or a can. Foraging is made a tiny bit more interesting by seeing the items slowly grow before you pick them up, but it's still only finding them and picking them up, so it was never going to be an in-depth mechanic anyway. Mining, if you can call it that, involves standing in one place and smashing your hoe in the ground until a giant rock spawns. This not only doesn't make sense, but feels entirely pointless. All you can do with what you find is sell it or gift it to some lucky villager. But wait, can't you use these to upgrade your tools? Nope, there are no tool upgrades in this game, meaning you'll be watering one space at a time for the entirety of the game. Oh wait, my bad, you can actually upgrade your sickle so that you can go from cutting one grass space space to 3 grass spaces. Oh, and we can't forget the slightly better fishing rod that you have to do an entire story campaign to unlock. This lack of upgrades extends to your entire farm as a whole. You can't expand your farming space, you can't expand your chicken coop, you can't expand your barn, and you can't even expand your house. Oh wait, my bad, you can spend 10,000 gold for a kitchen and add a doghouse. Wow, this was worth it. There's no in-game ways to find recipes or know what you're able to cook, so you either have to look it up online or waste food over and over again to figure out what you can cook. The kitchen also provides a bathroom and shower room for stamina recovery, which would normally be great, but when all I have to look forward to is this, I don't think it's worth using. Harvest Moon veterans know that when there is a kitchen, there is a family, so let's go and build that. Lila was my favorite as a kid, so let's get to know her more. I just have to follow the patented Harvest Moon dating strategy of constant gifts and talking every day. Wait a minute, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, that's right, me being cucked. That's right, there is no dating or marriage mechanic in this game whatsoever. Now this isn't out of the ordinary. Some of the previous games left this out and were still very fun. The problem is that the game leads you on and makes you think that you can. You can upgrade your house with a kitchen. There are several women your age that are single, and giving the girls their favorite gift will show a heart instead of a musical note like normal. Not just the games, but even the characters lead you on. Throughout the entire game, I gave Layla her favorite gifts and talked to her every day until she heavily implied she had a crush on me. In any other game, this would be a point where you can ask them out or even marry them, but not here, no. Despite saying how happy she is to see me and constantly mentioning love around me, she immediately decides she loves Parsley and will endlessly pursue him. This is because, despite the game implying they love you, every character is railroaded because of the biggest problem with this game. Finally, we can talk about the star of the show, the various endings. Instead of you building your own perfect farm life, this game instead chooses to use farming as a backdrop to complete at least one of 9 different endings. Now, in theory, I think this is a great way to explore an in-depth story. Unlike hard events of previous games, these stories don't always revolve around a single character. Now stories can be explored without being tethered to a specific love interest, making the game feel more varied and lively, is what I would say if it was implemented better. Some of them are straightforward, like planting a rare flower for an endangered butterfly to appear. This then protects the village as a wildlife nature reserve, while others just make absolutely zero sense, like how your horse winning the horse race means that the horse race has to be held in the village. First of all, why? Second of all, does that mean if I lose next year, we're back to square one, the village is just threatened from being bulldozed again? Seems like a very temporary fix. Meanwhile, we have other storylines that require a lot more effort than others. Like this one, where you need to play a flute in a minigame to attract a rare species of bird. The drastically varied quality of these endings means that the game feels disjointed and cumbersome to play through. But wait, surely you can complete multiple endings, right? This would mean you can experience the wide range of stories the game has to offer and continue to build a vibrant life. After completing an ending, the game, well, ends, meaning all the relationships you built up throughout the entirety of the game restart from square one. But your farm doesn't, so you keep all the progress on your farm. This means your first playthrough of the game is practically dedicated to just building your farm up to max level so you can use it as an easier way to get the rest of the endings, meaning this game becomes very boring very quickly. Right here hits the core of what I think this game got wrong. These different endings fundamentally mean that you have to build up your relationship with the villagers to eventually save the homeland. Problem is, these relationships feel disjointed and artificial. I don't feel like I'm building up my relationships with the village as a whole if they all get amnesia after completing one ending. If the game instead just continued after each ending, I think it would feel more natural. This way you build up your relationship with the town as a whole instead of hyperfixating on reaching the save the homeland goal. So while in theory adding different storylines had the opportunity to make this game unique and engaging, I believe it didn't do enough to keep me engaged. This game feels like they wanted to try something new for this series and forgot to add everything else around it. Having different storylines to help you accomplish different endings is a great idea. These stories are meant to immerse the player, making them feel like they are an integral part of the village, but the game falls short by forgetting to flesh out everything else around it. I don't look forward to farming since the mechanics are basic. I don't enjoy talking to the villagers since they'll just get amnesia after completing one ending. This game could have been so much more. Instead, it chose to go all in on the various stories without first trying to make the rest of the game worth playing. It seemingly tries to take 2 steps forward, but then face plants and falls 10 steps back. Anyways, I hope to see you all next time. Peace out.